Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive James Doyle Brandt. And we're going to be discussing James' incredible memoir, One Man's Life Touched by Jesus, the spiritual growth of one ordinary man. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places, but most importantly, check out his personal site, onemanslifetouchedbyjesus.com. There, gather more information on him, on his book, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages. Man, I'm telling you, like I mentioned, it's a one-stop shop. Again, that's onemanslifetouchedbyjesus.com. And I quickly want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that James was brought to us by Author Reputation Press. So for my writers out there listening in, if you've gone through your process, you've created your book, and now you need assistance moving it, well, head on over to authorreputationpress.com and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is suited to help move your creative endeavors. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have James here on the line. People, listen, this is such a wonderful book to be added to your shelf. Not only are you going to be traveling side by side here with James, but you're going to learn so much. Have you ever felt like your faith, man, your faith is a part of your story, but it's just not the main character, right? Follow me here for a second, because I know I'm not the only one. For decades, James felt exactly like that. He lived that way. He was a believer who found his priorities pulled in every direction except upward. In his book, it is the raw account of how a life built on success, from the Marine Corps to business ownership, it finally discovered its true foundation. This is a story for anyone out there listening in right now who believes, but who also struggles to make it the center of a busy life. And who amongst us can't relate? My goodness, man. We are all constantly traveling on that hamster wheel of life, running from one thing to the next, and our faith so often gets put to the side. This book is a remarkable expression of one man's journey, but a fantastic education for you to reap the rewards of. Sit back, strap in. Here we go. James, welcome to the network, man. Thank you for being a person of distinction and being here with us. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, great. And thank you for letting me on your show.
Of course. James, it's our pleasure. Man, listen, your book offers a lot of wisdom that I know a lot of people are going to be able to take advantage of. Let's jump right in. This is a memoir, so we're going to cover your background while learning about the book. So tell us more about it, man. One Man's Life Touched by Jesus. Tell us more about the words on those pages.
Oh, the main purpose of the book, it was to let other people know some of the mistakes that I made, so that their lives could be better. That it can work more quickly than mine did. But the big thing is, I didn't notice. I grew up in a Christian family, and I had a real strong Christian background as I was growing up. But as soon as I left for college, I got so involved with everything else. But yet, when I think back, there were key things in my life that were affected by my Christian belief, and I didn't realize it until way afterwards. The biggest thing was, I grew up in a little town called Paradise, California. And it was, at the time, it was a small town with only 10,000 people in it, up in the mountains. And my father was an engineer for the state of California, and he got transferred to Southern California halfway through my junior year. And here I was almost all the way through high school and on my way for a football scholarship to Stanford. And I didn't want to go to Southern California. I wanted to stay there and finish. I knew I couldn't play football and couldn't continue what I was doing. I had to move. And so I was going to live with a friend of mine. And then I was walking down a street one day, and a voice struck me and said, no, I have to go. And I just felt this strong thing. And I called my father and says, no, I'm going to move to Southern California. And I moved to Southern California, but then I didn't play football there because I couldn't start my senior year. But then my football coach called the coach in Los Angeles, and the coach called me in, even though the season had already started, and asked me to play. And so I did, and then I ended up getting the scholarship anyway, and things moved on from there. But it was that voice when I was walking down that street in Paradise the day before I moved that changed everything.
James, listen, man, I think you're touching up on something that a lot of people can relate to. And listen, sometimes it's just hard to pinpoint because you're talking about this voice, right? Now, that could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And I want to connect that now to your book's title, specifically the part where it says, touched by Jesus. Because again, the voice that you were talking about, being touched or led by Jesus, by this higher force, is something that a lot of people either have experienced themselves or have yearned for, right? And have wanted to experience. So let's talk about that, man. First and foremost, can you describe what that quote unquote voice or what that touch felt like during this challenging time in your life, and really comparing that to the moment of peace that you experienced years later?
Yeah, it was really startling to me. It just caught my attention so strongly. I didn't expect it. And it wasn't any words or anything. It was just a feeling inside me. And it was the strongest feeling I'd had since I was only 6 years old, when in the middle of the night, that I had a dream where I saw Jesus coming at the end times. My grandfather told me it was because of some cow that banged up against the trailer that I was sleeping in. But years later, I realized, no, it wasn't, because my vision of Jesus, his feet weren't touching the ground. And I didn't learn that till Sunday school years later. That's what really happened. So anyway, I was linking these two events, and walking down that street when I was a junior in high school, it just struck me, and no words were said. It was just, no, you've got to go. And so it was so strong that I went ahead and responded to it, even though I didn't understand it until years later.
Yeah. Listen, what a great segue, because I want to utilize this now. And interestingly, listening audience members will be able to take your words and implement it into their journey and into their lives. But if you had the opportunity, James, to hop in a time machine, man, and you could go back and you could speak to your younger self, either the one in the Marine Corps, the one starting his first business, or even in a different earlier pastime, what would you say to this individual about the concept of trust that maybe he would not have understood at that time?
Yeah, I would have been so firm about, I need to listen to this and understand the source of these situations, and realize, and I can't, it affected my life. So it really helped my life so much. But the fact that I waited so long before I accepted what the voice told me, my life could have even been better, but it turned out great. Every time I needed something, it was there. That's what so amazed me. Jesus took care of me at times when I wasn't as strongly on him as I should have been, carrying me through, if that makes sense.
James, that makes perfect sense. And listen, I think it's a profound statement because it's going to resonate with everyone listening, and it's going to connect to my next question as well. But before we go there, people, I'm just going to point it out once again. You got to purchase your copies, man. We're only going to scratch the surface here today. And trust me when I tell you, there is so much left to be discovered. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's One Man's Life, touchedbyjesus.com. Head on over there, purchase your copies today, because this is one that's going to open your eyes. It's going to shift your perception to so much. And that's where I want to go next, man, because James, you've mentioned the impetus for this book, right? And you're wanting to make sure that people don't necessarily have to go the same route that you did, right? You want them to be able to learn from certain decisions and the path that you walked And that's where I want to address next because, listen, man, I know something that you mentioned to me on the pre-screening call, but I think it's so valuable, is you came to this true understanding or this enlightenment, I guess I can put it in a certain way, in the quote unquote second act of your life. Now, I find that to be actually very hopeful because the message to be received there is, listen, people, I don't care if you're a teenager. I don't care if you're an adult. I don't care if you're someone in their 50s or 60s or even beyond that. It's never too late for you to come to Christ. It's never too late for your spiritual growth. James, if a reader finishes your book, man, and they feel the stirring, they feel compelled to reconnect with their faith, but listen, they don't even know where to start, where to begin. What is the first small and non-intimidating step that you would recommend that they take?
When I think back, the thing that helped me was I knew that these situations were really unusual. Of course, the very first time when I was only 6 years old, but then after that, my last day in paradise, when that event happened, I didn't understand it at the time. It was easy to remember that it was an extremely unusual thing to happen. And when I put it in relative to my faith in Jesus, it made sense to me, even though I didn't do that till years later. So I'm saying that when things happen and you get answers to questions and you don't understand the source of them, take that seriously way sooner than I did. And the source could be just like with mine, where it was Jesus himself. I went in the Marine Corps. I didn't want to go there, but that was my only option because I wanted to finish school and play football on the scholarship. And the other services wouldn't let you do that. And this was during the Vietnam War. And so I had to go. Mm-hmm. And the Marine Corps was the only one that I would only go to during the summer, and it wouldn't affect my school year. So I went, even though my father hated the Marine Corps, but he told me it was the right thing to do. And so I went. And when I went in it, I had such an awful experience the first 6 months. The lieutenant that I was with, first thing was they had a magic moment, which was a huge bombing thing. You had to have your wife there. Back then, the Marine Corps could tell your wife what to do. And she was pregnant and was having problems with her pregnancy. And the doctor told her not to go against anywhere where there's loud noises and vibrations. And, of course, dropping bombs and doing all that. And I asked my captain if I could get her, if she could not go. And he said no, she had to go. So she went, and she had a miscarriage that night. And then, then two other things happened that were really bad. My real father died, and I didn't know about it, and the Red Cross let me know. And my captain said, there's only a month and a half left in your training, so no, you stay here and wait and visit him afterwards. And then the third thing is I was on a hike, the last hike, an individual hike in the middle of the night, and I got an appendicitis attack. And I fell down. I thought I was going to die, but this Jeep came by and picked me up and took me to the hospital. And then I asked the hospital to make sure they didn't let my commanding officer tell my wife what happened. But then he did. And he told her I just dropped and they didn't know if I was going to live or not. And anyway, so I left. So I didn't want to go in the infantry after that because I had such a bad experience. And then it turned out I ended up going to flight school, even though I'd never flown before. And they said my chances of making it through weren't good at all. But I kept praying, and I made it through flight school and really enjoyed being a helicopter pilot in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War. So anyway, that was the biggest event that happened, and I felt so close to God the whole time.
James, listen, man, I think that's the perfect way to close out. Like, I had a whole list of other questions that I could have gone into, but honestly, I don't see a more powerful way to close because it offers a lot of wisdom in what you just said. What stays with me from our talk, James, is faith is less about a single destination and more about a constant reorientation. Like it is a journey. And I think that is so powerful to be understood and such a great, like I mentioned before, man, I think such a hopeful thing that can be remembered and taken from this is it's never too late to let our faith catch up with our lives. Like the journey is still going and God is still by our side. No matter if he was the main character in our story or not, man, he is a great supporting role. I promise you that much. And he is just waiting to come front and center. And it's never too late to develop that. So people, take that, run with it, and make sure you purchase copies of One Man's Life Touched by Jesus, the spiritual growth of one ordinary man. And I promise you, James Doyle Brandt is anything but an ordinary man, but it starts with this book. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. Make sure to check out the website, onemanslife.touchedbyjesus.com. Gather it all. James, this has been an absolute honor, man. Such a pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.